My name is Adam Conlon. I'm a writer here in Chicago, and I am talking with my friend who is also a writer here in Chicago, Inushin Morimoto. How you doing, Inu?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you, Adam?
I'm doing just fine. I've got a list of questions here that I'm going to ask you about your writing.
I'm super excited.
All right, I am too. First question is, what is your writing process?
My writing process starts off with a simple idea that I may get during everyday life. I will add it to my document, and then I will create a table chart, and then I will come up with a list of a number of chapters I want to just preface for it, and then I will fill in the table chart where the first line will be the opening scenes. The second category will be the serious and key moments that I want to put in it that will help the story move forward. And then the last column will be comedic and flashback scenes, or just some extra stuff I want to throw in there. But if it doesn't fit as I'm writing it, it won't hinder the story any.
Sounds like you outline.
I'm very big on planning. It
Absolutely.
keeps me organized for sure.
That's important, I think, for writing.
Very.
How do you channel your emotions into your writing? You write a lot of emotional stories.
For emotions, I immerse myself if I was a character themselves and I'm experiencing what they're going through. Obviously, I won't experience everything in the world, but I try to get myself as close as possible. Plus, I've had friends who've experienced similar things, and I've talked to them about it when we were younger, and it helped me understand them on an emotional level, and I sympathize for them so I can get some kind of like level for the characters I'm writing about.
That's a good process. I think that's a good way to channel the emotions into your writing. Absolutely. I think one thing we all struggle with as writers is writer's block. How do you handle writer's block when it strikes?
Writer's block obviously can happen at any moment. Luckily, I've developed the ability to work on multiple projects at the same time. When I'm writing a story, I focus on that one specifically, but I'm outlining usually 2 to 4 other stories in the background. So if I ever get stuck on a scene, I can take a break from it and then bounce to one of the other stories and just outline some things I want to add to it before I go back to the original story I'm working on.
Okay, so if you're ever feeling stuck or like you've hit a wall, you've got another project you can jump on.
Yo, I have so many projects. I'm trying to keep up with them.
Sometimes it's hard to keep them all straight.
It is, and I have to keep my mind from creating more as I'm just going through life, because just one small thing will just trigger a whole new idea, and it's like, dang, I have enough to work on.
That's what happens when you just cast that wide net of imagination.
It does. It's hard to maintain sometimes.
So again, you write a lot of emotional stories. How do you find inspiration when you're feeling creatively or emotionally drained?
The main thing is I take a nap. With where I work at right now, I have a lot of people that I talk to, so it can drain me by the end of the shift. So usually the first thing I do when I get home is take a nap. But once I wake up, I go straight into writing, and I try to, if I'm working on a specific scene, I have music that helps understand on an emotional level to help me tap into that kind of emotion.
Naps are a great way to recharge, sure.
I love my naps. I didn't like them as a kid, but I love them now.
Isn't it funny how we grow?
It says some growth ourselves.
Oh, all right. Next question. How do you define good writing?
Good writing to me is being able to pull your own emotions out, not only the readers, because if you're not able to feel the scene on your own level, you might have a hard time getting the readers to feel the same. So for me, it's feeling for the characters and what the scene's trying to convey, and then if you're feeling that emotion yourself, you know you did a really good job at it.
I agree.
So
I definitely agree. There are some scenes that just hit extra hard, or even when you read them back, when you're doing the edit, when I'm doing my editing for my own stories, I'll just be like, oh, it's a tear that, I'm sure you have the same thing.
I have those where it's like I just want to cry for the characters. I feel bad for some of the scenes I put the characters through, and I'm sure my readers are probably thinking that I must really hate these characters, but I honestly don't. But they have to go through them for the stories.
Hey, that's what makes their triumphs even more joyous.
Yes, they make it that much more rewarding by the end.
Next question. What does writing mean to you?
Short term, everything. For me, writing has become a very core piece of my life. It has helped me through my troubling past. It's been my therapy. It's been an outsource, something for me to explore other avenues I wanted to be when I was younger. And I am constantly thinking about new ways to take stories. I just be driving down the street, attending my martial arts class, anything in my daily life, my mind immediately wanders to my stories and how I can make them better.
There's that net of imagination again.
Yes, it wanders a little too much, and I have to try and reel it back in. But sometimes I can't do that myself.
Hey, you never know what you're going to catch until you cast it, right?
That's true.
You know?
That's true.
So the next set of questions I have are about inspiration and aspiration.
Aspirations.
What inspired you to become a writer?
Fan fictions. When I was younger, my parents didn't really encourage me to read so much. And in school, they always made it seem like homework and a chore to do. So I've always hated reading books to do book reports. But I eventually stumbled across fan fictions online. Never heard of it before, but it took over my life. I was no longer playing video games, and I was just reading the entire day after school. And it got to the point where I eventually tried to write my own fan fiction. It was terrible, but at least that was the start of my journey.
Hey, that's a start.
So it's getting the word started. Whether it's good or not, you'll develop later on.
I like to think that a lot of writers get their starts, or at least get their sparks through fan fiction.
I can see it being plausible. Maybe they might be unsure of admitting it because fan fictions do get a lot of heat and flag for not being good writing, but there's some phenomenal ones out there.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have a story that you have to get out.
Yeah, and fan fictions, if you don't have your own characters, fan fiction is a good way to do it, especially if you have a set of characters that you love tremendously.
Yeah. Yeah. What made you decide to take the indie publishing route instead of traditional publishing?
My decision to take the indie publishing route is because I've been developing this brand and image for the last, I think at this point, 7 or 8 years. And I didn't want a traditional publishing house to either sully it, try to take it away, or put their own spin on it for their own vision. I'm very protective of what I've been creating over this last several years, and I don't want to risk someone trying to take it away from me. It's very dear to my heart, my spirit and soul, so it's very particular to me.
You're proud of it.
I'm very proud of it, and it's still developing to this day. I'm constantly learning new things to help it grow.
And that's Heart of Dog Productions?
Heart of Dog Productions
Yes.
is the future company that I want to create, and Enushin, my author name, translates to Heart of Dog, so it goes hand in hand.
I just wanted to make sure we mentioned Heart of Dog Productions.
I appreciate it.
Before we moved on.
I appreciate
that. Next question. How do you decide which themes to explore in your writing, and how do you choose different themes for different stories?
The themes for different stories may not even form when I first create the idea. One of the stories that I have planned to come out in a few years is called Pursuit of Passion. And it originally started off as an aspiring actor trying to just make a name for himself in the industry. And then as I was creating the scenes of him interacting with other people, a love story developed in the middle of it. And then rather than trying to fight it, I just let the love story itself blossom into what it's going to be. So a lot of times the stories take the themes of their own and I just follow along with it because clearly something in the universe is urging me to have that story be written that way.
The themes just naturally develop based on the characters, what the characters want and what they're doing.
Yes.
I think you mentioned that a lot of your stories are very character driven.
A lot of the ones I've written so far and the ones upcoming are very character driven and their journey and for their growth as a person to help my readers grow as a person themselves, because sometimes we may get stuck in a rut and we may not get over those barriers or have troubles doing so. So I want to find and create something that will help encourage them to go to that next level in their own journey.
Oh, that's excellent. Nobody's perfect, and we all have habits. What's a writing habit that you struggle to break?
The biggest writing habit I struggle to break is perfectionism. Because I'm aware of the quality of my fan fiction and my first attempt at a novel, I am trying to do better every time. And at first, I wanted to make every line, every scene absolutely perfect. But if I continue to try to do that, I'll never be able to publish a book because I've always tried to think it could be done better. But rather now I'm trying to keep in mind that I can always, the first draft is kind of teaching yourself and telling yourself the story. The second draft would be kind of in a way making it look like you knew what you were doing in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one would be kind of tuning and finding out the, like, correcting misspellings, punctuations, and things of that nature, and make sure everything flows smoothly. So it's being able to accept that, yeah, we're not perfect, and it doesn't have to be perfect, though. Just like people, stories can be flawed in some part, and some readers actually enjoy finding those errors.
Oh, yeah. I think there are stories out there that have flaws in them that that actually make readers kind of excited to find.
Mm-hmm. They're able to see that, oh, this person, even though they may be well known or famous, they make mistakes just like I do. We're all human, so it's perfectly natural.
Absolutely. Do you listen to music when you write? And if so, what kind?
I love music. It is a massive piece of my life where I am to the point where I listen to music almost 24/7. Silence kind of bugs me a little bit. And I've actually developed a playlist for every single story that I'm writing, ones I've already written and ones I have planned for the future. That way, when I start writing those stories, I listen to that exact playlist to immerse me into that world also. So going also back to the question where the drawing out emotions for the characters, the songs themselves can help produce those emotions in me, and then I can resonate even better with the characters. So some songs may give you inspiration, some songs you may listen to when you're going through a hard time. I take those exact emotions and I channel it into the stories for the characters themselves.
It's a good way of looking at it. And I know I'm gonna point this out. You have Spotify playlists.
I think the last time I hit create new playlist, it said number 58. So I have a lot of playlists.
Yes. But you use those as well.
I do. They're for me to listen to while I write them, but they're also for people to listen to while they read. That way they can immerse themselves similarly or maybe the exact same way I am. The stories may pull out, the songs may pull out the same emotions as they're reading the scenes, and that just may enhance it even better. It's up for everybody else to interpret, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds like music is a big part of your writing.
I love music. It's all beautiful to me, all genres. There's something beautiful in everything.
Absolutely agree. All right. Who are your favorite authors or storytellers?
There's several that I've enjoyed over the years. The first story I've ever read is What Happened to Cass McBride by Gail Giles. Amazing story that took me in, and I was a senior at the time, so I was a late reader. Obviously, there's greats like Stephen King. My favorite storyteller is Rumiko Takahashi. She created my all-time favorite story, Inuyasha, which is also a very core piece of my life. Some other storytellers that people may not know are these fanfics writers that took over my life.
Mm-hmm.
One is Speed Kills, there's Black Rose the Vampire, there's Emily Blood. I don't know if they took a journey as authors themselves. If they have, I would love to find their stories because I love their fan fiction so much to the point where I saved them to my document. Just in case they ever delete them from online, I can still go back and read them. So there's inspiration everywhere, and I always go back to reread old stories too. So, and then obviously I mentioned Inuyasha. Clannad's a phenomenal anime that I've read that I watched and played the game of that helped me really understand character emotions and develop them over the course of the storyline. So there's a lot of outlets that I find inspirational and really helps me progress and understand more.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned a lot of stories. Do you have any other favorite books or stories?
I really enjoyed The Green Mile. That one took me for a while.
That's a tragic one.
It's a tragic one, and I really
Yeah.
feel for one of the characters, but it was a good one. Not just like story books, but there's Don Miguel Ruiz. He does a lot of, I want to say, spiritual type stories in books. I enjoy reading those as well because I like to progress in my own spiritual journey and progress as myself as a person. So I like the Four Agreements, the Fifth Agreement, and several other stories that he's created. I think I have 5 of his books on my bookshelf.
Wow.
So they're good stories. And one I'm currently reading is, if I remember correctly, it's Veronica Decides to Die. I may have the name wrong, but it's been a busy week, so.
Oh, I get it. We'll make sure. We'll see if we can find that and add that somewhere.
Yes.
If it comes highly recommended, for sure.
It's really good so far. I enjoy it a lot.
So the next set of questions are about relationships, not just in world, in book, but also, in our world with the writing community.
Okay.
The first is, how do you create characters that feel real and relatable?
A lot of my characters are inspired from people I've met in real life. And my interactions with them, observing their interactions with other people, really help develop on how I can create the characters in the stories to develop with one another, whether they're friends with the person, romantically involved with the person, enemies with them. There's really an element that you can take from everyday life, and even if you want to, you can tweak it slightly to make it a little more dramatic. So a lot of inspiration comes from people I've met, people I will continue to meet, and just experiencing the intricacies of human nature.
So a lot of inspiration comes from people that you meet. Is that also how you decide on a character's flaws or strengths?
Yes. A lot of the strengths and flaws of characters come from people I've known on a more deeper level, where after a while of getting to know people, I get to know their hobbies, what excites them, what terrifies them, because I like to speak more on a spiritual level rather than the shallow conversations, and that really helps me develop characters to be very different from one another. And everyone in the real world, as well as my characters, have specific goals they want to achieve. Whether they actively achieve those goals is up to the person, but that can also be in itself a subplot for characters. Whether they are scared to achieve a goal, but then throughout the story they finally develop the strength to do so. So people are a great way to really make characters.
That's one of I think good advice for any aspiring writer is to people watch.
Oh, people watching is fun. I started when I was in high school, and even in high school, there's some fascinating people.
Mhm.
So,
Just
and then,
pick a park bench and
yeah,
just get those snippets of conversation. Where is this person going? Why is this person look upset?
yeah, and you can just create a whole new life for people. You
For
could just be
sure. Yeah.
sitting in, you could be bored doing laundry, sitting in a laundromat, and you just watch somebody folding their clothes, and you could just create a whole life story for them that may not even be true, but it could be entertaining to you.
Yeah.
You never know what the imagination could bring.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, it's important, I think, for authors, writers to have a big imagination and know how to cast that net out.
Yes, because you're gonna catch something for sure.
So, moving from characters, how do you balance character development with plot progression?
Balancing character development with plot progression is something I'm still learning. I mean, we're always learning something new. Right now, the first two published novels, As Life Unfolds and Elude Misery, they are character centered on their growth, so their growth is the plot. So it really helps make it easy for that to happen. And then for some future stories I want to write, they're going to be more fantasy based. So learning on how to develop their growth as well as understanding on how the plot line of the story develops was something I'm happy to explore and learn on its own. But right now, a lot of my stories are character based, and
Oh yeah, again, very character driven stories, very emotional like driven stories. So I can understand that combining those two, I think, especially in Elude Misery, combining those two becomes very seamless. We see the journey that goes from the start of the year, and I think until like exactly maybe a year after,
I think I made it like a full year
from beginning
for the
to
story
end.
from the
Yeah,
beginning. I know. I think both As Life Unfolds and Elude Misery take the timeline of a year to develop fully. And
but I think that when you get to the end, you see just how far you've come from the beginning.
oh yes, and it can be portrayed with the same like your regular day of life where you may be stuck in one moment and then 6 months to a year later your life could be completely different, and it's just by the choices and decisions you make throughout the year. So it's that helps make it flow seamlessly.
Oh yeah. All right. This one is going to be a very fun question. Is there a character that you created that you'd like to spend a day with? Conversely, is there a character you created that you'd never want to meet in real life?
The character that I've created that I would love to meet, we'll answer this one first. His name is Dahi. He is my god of probability, and he is what I would envision if I was a god myself, where he just has a bunch of fun. He can make anything happen, which I wish I could do, just no matter what, just loves to make anything happen in the world. His little hobby is poking every living creature within the multiverse. If he finds someone new or something new, he tries to find some way to poke it and then goes off on his journey. As for a character I would never want to meet, Unfortunately, I've already met a lot of those because I take people as inspiration.
Hmm.
So I've unfortunately met a lot of them. But if it's a character I haven't yet met, his name is Haken. He is my god of chaos, and he's a very dangerous person to interact with because you never know what he's going to do.
Hmm. I think that is interesting that you have Dahi, the god of probability, and Haken, the god of chaos. And so one has the ability to do anything, but so does the other one in a more dramatic kind of way.
Yes. They do fall under two of the three primordial gods I've created for this multiverse, and they're on the opposite ends of the spectrum of their roles. And as Haken is causing as much mischief as he can, Dahi is trying to balance everything out.
Mm.
So it's a constant game of cat and mouse, I guess you could say.
I think that's a very interesting concept.
It's been a journey for a while for those two. They've been playing a lot in the background.
We might have to wait until that full story gets told. But I'm looking forward to it.
That's gonna be a fun one.
The next question: what is the most meaningful feedback you've ever received on your work?
I won't be able to say it word for word because this happened 14 years ago. But when I wrote my first fan fiction, one of the readers commented that it was a very well story. It was the plot line and everything was good, but I was overly detailed in writing specific things to the point where it kind of killed the mood and the flow of the story.
Mm.
And at the time, I didn't think much of it because I didn't see myself as an author or anything. But looking back, I've subtly made the changes throughout the years where I can incorporate the descriptions in a more natural way. And a more recent feedback was from my editor. She absolutely loved my couple in As Life Unfolds, Fergus and Kimiko. Out of all the characters in the story, those are her favorites. And I created those characters as my idea of the perfect relationship. Again, everyone has their own idea. This one's my idea, where they help build each other up to make each other better people.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed reading Fergus and Kimiko's chapters, or I guess segments, scenes
Yes.
as well.
It was a beautiful journey, and I loved to see their growth in their relationship. It was something that I would like to see in the world, where people can take that journey themselves to have that flourishing type of relationship.
Yeah, it's. I think that I do think that with their relationship, you definitely hit the nail on the head there.
Yes, I'm glad. I'm glad.
So the last set of questions that we have are about connections.
Connections.
And the first question is, what do you hope readers take away from your stories on an emotional or intellectual level?
I hope that they can find that anything is possible. That since my characters in first set of books are character driven, and it's their journey to becoming better versions of themselves, I want and hope for my readers to find that encouragement to become better versions of themselves. Whether it's overcoming a dark past in their lives, or they're learning a trait that they've admired themselves but didn't feel like they could achieve, as well as progressing themselves to the next level of life that they want to be at, that they themselves inspire to be. So their own personal growth is what I hope that readers take from my stories.
Yeah, I think those kinds of stories provide good moral and life lessons. Mm-hmm. And I think that especially when you have interesting characters that are going through just a lot of trauma. I
Yeah.
think it's entertaining. I think that you feel for the characters, and I also think that it's very easy to garner something from their struggles and their journeys and learn something for yourself.
Oh, yes. And as I've progressed through my own journey and experiences in life and watching my friends do the same, helps me believe that it's possible for anybody if they're willing to put in the work to do it themselves.
Yeah. So, we've already discussed you're an indie author.
Mm-hmm.
How do you build connections with your readers?
Right now, I interact with them as much as possible. A lot of my readers are at my job. So I currently work at a gym, and they come to my shift frequently. So I always stop by them to talk to them while they're working out, like obviously in between sets. And I've developed a familiar relationship with them over the last 2.5 years. And just recently, they found out that I write books. So they've bought copies of them, and I ask them while they're reading it. They may come up to me and talk to me. It's like, I did not see this coming. So that's currently how I'm developing my relationship with the readers. I'm always looking for new avenues to have readers be able to find me and a place where we could communicate. I've created a website for people to go to. I've created a Discord server that people can join as well, where not only interact with me, but also interact with each other, because I want to build it to be a nice community. So I'm always open to finding new ways that we can all connect with one another to have a very flourishing community.
I think especially as indie authors that haven't quite hit the big time but are working hard for it, just to get our stories out.
Yes.
I think that being part of that community and helping each other is very important.
It's very important because you want to show people that you're not in it just for yourself or for the glory or for the money. You're in it because you really love what you're doing, and you want to share that journey and experience with other people who are in the same kind of mindset where they happily enjoy doing what they do as well. Even if you guys write different genres, you're happy to build each other up to have the most fun and impact as much as you can on the world.
Yes, absolutely. What is the most rewarding part of sharing your work with others?
Their reactions. Absolutely love their reactions. Whether it's positive reactions or they're trying to like maybe not cry when they're telling me when something happens.
Mm-hmm.
Their reactions shows that I made a very impactful scene, and it shows to me that my writing is worth something. Because a lot of times we may doubt ourselves as writers or even just creators in general. So getting those kind of reactions, regardless of what reaction it is, reinforces that the work I've been putting in these last 10 years, 15 years, has been beneficial. So,
Yes. Seeing, not just hearing about, seeing that emotional connection that you made is just one of those things that gets you right in the heart.
It does. There was a reader at the gym in the last couple of weeks. He finished one of the scenes and he thought it was going to go a different route than it really did. And so it caught him off guard. But being able to write it that way also shows that I've developed as a writer. That I think previously I made things a little too easy to follow, but now having these like little hidden moments shows the progression as myself. And it's fun that they think it's going to go one way and then all of a sudden it switches. I like those moments.
Yes, absolutely agreed. That those little twists.
Those twists are fun.
Those little twists.
I have another one coming up in my next book, and I'm hoping it's going to be as good as I felt when I was writing it. Because I got myself like, oh, that's good.
I'm looking forward to checking that out for sure.
It's going to be.
For sure.
I look forward to responses.
Oh, I'll let you know what I think like right away. If it really does stand out, I'll send you a text right away.
Perfect. I appreciate it.
So, what's a story idea you had that you feel isn't quite ready to be written yet?
The first original story idea that I had is called Saint Angels, and I developed the idea back in 2014. I wrote the whole thing originally, and I actually went to a traditional publishing house at the time, and she told me it was a small publishing house, and she told me it was going to cost me $900 for them to edit, do a cover, the ISBN, everything to get it out there.
Okay.
And luckily, I did not have the $900 to do it.
Sure.
I was broke. I mean, I'm still broke, but I didn't have that kind of money, so I wasn't able to follow through.
Sure.
And then I was looking back at it in 2017, 2018, and I realized that it was written the same way I wrote my fan fiction. And I wasn't satisfied with it with myself. So I decided I was going to rewrite it. But as I tried to do the rewrite, my first novel took over. The ideas for that one just kept flooding my mind instead. So I decided to put St. Angels down, and I went to As Life Unfolds instead, and I wrote that in 3 years. I still have St. Angels on the back burner. I'm going to get back to it, but whenever it's ready, my brain will say, okay, it's time. So that's one of the stories I have.
I feel that you, just as like a quick funny aside, you did share that original text document for St. Angels with me.
I have shared it with you, and I know that you've mentioned you have a hard time following it. I've shared
like a chunk of.
It's a chunk of text and then
I
a
feel
small
like
line
I'm
of
trying
dialogue.
to decipher the Rosetta Stone.
It is complicated, and I've also shared it with one of the members at the gym.
Yes.
And she's told me that I have put periods in random spots because I felt like the sentences were getting too long.
Oh wow.
So
you had like the opposite of run-on sentences, like sentence fragments just.
Well, the sentences were getting too long, so I put a period there to stop it, and then the next sentence continued on.
Oh.
So,
Okay. So
I was trying to not do run-on sentences to the point where I ended up just putting a random period in there so they weren't too long.
oh my goodness.
Again, I've grown a lot since then.
No, I was just about to say, don't worry. As Life Unfolds and Elude Misery
They are significantly better.
significantly. The growth is. We don't want to talk about that document anymore. What's the last?
The growth is there, but it also is a reminder for me to say,
Yes.
you can grow as well. You may start off terrible, but there's potential for growth. I will show proof of that.
I think it is important talking about our old writing like that. I think it is important to understand that like it can be fixed.
It is.
Like there are some documents I have where it's just walls of text. What was I thinking?
Right, you
just like trying to get as many ideas out onto the page as possible. And I look back at those documents because I'm crazy and still have them. And I'm just like, no, Adam, what were you doing?
You're just trying to spew everything out. You just want to get everything inside you out on paper. But that also goes back into the first draft.
Yeah.
Where you're telling yourself the story. The second draft, you make it look like you knew what you were doing.
Yes.
So, again, I was telling myself the St. Angel story at the first time. It's muddled. I gotta find the story itself now, which I'm finding it. That's one of the stories I bounce to when I get writer's block is the old St. Angel story.
Yes.
I go back to that and I'm restructuring it. I'm following along better, and then like, okay, now I follow and I see the cohesiveness of it. So it's gonna be coming out later. It's just not ready yet.
Although I will say, like going back to that, like the first draft is the one. It's the story that you're telling yourself.
Yes.
Which is really funny because when you're discovering these documents 8 years later,
you're just like, holy crap!
It's like, no, this isn't even for me anymore. This is
not for me. Like, who was the person that wrote this? It's not me.
This is not me anymore. Like, exactly. So you make a very good point. You track your growth that way.
Yes.
Absolutely. And you see how far you've come looking at your brutal slab of text.
Oh God. I have troubles looking at it. I know what the plot is. I just have troubles looking at the document itself.
I totally get it. Like I said, I have things that are also
Yeah.
brutal slabs of text.
I'm sure we all have something from like 8, 10 years ago where we're just like, God, I can't believe I did that.
Let's not look at the past where
Nope.
things are murky. Let's look towards the future, which is clear and bright.
Yes, mostly.
If you could write a story that can change the world, what would it be about? And how do you hope it would impact future generations?
The story that I am about to start writing, I am creating a blog series online that I will update weekly on my website. It is called Eternal Wanderer, and it is a story about a half human, half Self-Ku boy trying to find his place in the multiverse. Because he is the only half human, half Self-Ku, he doesn't know where he belongs. And I am developing it as I go. So it's not one that I'm planning out entirely. It's kind of winging it a little bit, but I'm letting myself feel for the character as I go on my own journey. And the hope that I have for future generations is that it can inspire them to accept life as it is at that moment and then continue to push forward to a goal that they have of their own. Where the character's, is to find a place where he belongs, and everyone else may have their own separate journey where they might want to find where they belong. They want to pursue some kind of passionate career of theirs. I think this one, as of right now in my mind, will be one of my most impactful stories, because as I am developing what I know so far, I'm already feeling the emotions that I'm going to drag out for my readers. So that'd be my answer. Eternal Wanderer is gonna be a doozy.
Well, it sounds like the story is very important to you, for sure. And I think that that's the first step towards making it important to other people as well.
It's a very important story to me because I didn't really feel like I belonged where I grew up at. I grew up in a very small town where there was nothing to do but to walk around the main shopping store or just walk around town. And I felt like there was more in life to that and there was more meant for me. So I would go on my own journeys to find new things in the world to discover. And I find everything in the world beautiful, different cultures, music, lifestyles. The differences is where I find the beauty. And the main character in Eternal Wanderer will go into different realms which have their own different settings. And he'll be exploring all of those, and that's a way for me to explore that through his eyes. So in a way, he's finding where he's meant to belong, and I am in kind of essence doing the same still to this day, where I've traveled and I've moved to different states, different cities and towns, always seeing what else is out there. And I like to travel to different countries and explore. It's one of my favorite things to do, just to see what's waiting for me that I don't know yet.
I think that a lot of your stories, while being, again, very emotional, very character driven, I think one of the reasons that they connect so well is because they're, and why they're important to you is because they're very autobiographical. Autobiographical, I guess, is the correct way to say that word.
To some degree, yes. I do channel a core piece of me into each of my stories, and they all hold very dear to me. And it's what makes, I think that's what's going to set me apart from a lot of writers, is that each story channels such a deep part of me that my readers will be able to pick up on
Mm.
and help them develop that closer connection to the characters. And this goes over the different phases of my life, from when I was adolescent, teenager, young adult, current age. There's so many different layers of myself as a person, as there are different layers of many people. I'm able to take those different layers and mold it into a journey for people to experience.
Mm. Yeah. No, it's. I think you do a great job of that.
I'm glad I put in a lot of hours at it.
So the very last question I have
Yes.
is, where can we find you and your work?
A lot. My first two novels are on Amazon, and recently they are on the Barnes and Noble website. I'm in the works of trying to reach out to bookstores to get them in there.
Mm.
That's a journey in its own, since I'm unknown for the most part. I've created my own website called Keelitis.com because that's the name of the multiverse. I can also be found on Instagram under, my name is Kairu Cox. You can also find me on Twitter at Enushin1. And I'll have all these links available that people can find. And the best way to get a hold of me is either through Instagram or Discord. Those are like my main two outlets. But I try to put the links on everything so that way people can find things to make it easy to navigate. Because I know things can get lost online.
Yeah, we'll make sure there are links.
So Amazon for the books. If you want to know more about the multiverse and the deities I've created and the upcoming intricacies that I have planned, those will be on my website. So there's a lot of information that's out there that I've already put, and there's going to be a whole lot more coming too.
Fantastic. Again, my name is Adam Conlon. I'm a writer here in Chicago, and I'm with Enushin Morimoto, also a writer here in Chicago.
I thank you so much for having me with you.
Thank you very much.